Hi, my name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and today I'm going to be walking you through my entire line of organizer systems compatible with this game, Unmatched. I've done a video like this before, so you may have seen that, but I figured it was worth revisiting because I've added a few new products to my line. So I have an organizer that works with this 4-character, sort of the larger box sets. I have one that works with the Jurassic Park sets, and then my latest works with the Unmatched Adventures Tales to a Maze set. Now, before I go into this, I just want to draw attention to the fact that Restoration Games, the company that publishes Unmatched, did create their own official organizer/storage system for Unmatched. It was called the Battle Box. It was a large box that contained 12 smaller boxes called boost boxes. And it's a great way to organize your collection of Unmatched. Now, they made that available through a crowdfunding project a couple of years ago. When that project was going on, I looked at it. I didn't feel like their system really suited my preferences for how I would like to organize this game. So that's why I created my own system, and I'm making it available to others in case your preferences happen to be closer to mine. Also, another drawback to the official organizer system is it seems like it's unavailable and not going to be available again anytime soon. If you backed the crowdfunding project that they ran a couple of years ago, then you have it. But if you didn't back that, it's not available in retail, and there doesn't seem to be any plans to bring it to retail. So that being said, that's another reason why you might look at my organizer system. But if you don't know about the official one, go take a look at it, see what's there, see if you can hunt one down if that seems like the right choice for you. But barring that, I hope that you'll take a look at my organizer system. Now, before we get into the products, I just want to say again, first of all, I designed this for my preferences, and one of the things about this game for me is I do not sleeve the cards. A lot of people do. That's cool. I sleeve some of my games, but this particular game I don't. So my organizers are designed primarily for unsleeved cards. I do have versions of the organizers that will work with sleeved cards, so that is an option, but they're optimized for unsleeved. So as we go through, I'll try and highlight, what maybe some of your concerns might be if you sleeve your cards and you're looking at these organizers so that you can make an informed decision. I don't want to sell you something that's not going to work for you. So I want to be very transparent about that going into it. But we'll get into those details as we go along. I'm going to take you over to my desk and I'll walk you through each of these products one at a time. Okay, so the first product I want to show you is a relatively new one to my line, and that is what I call the T-Rex box. Now, this is actually designed to work with the official organizer, the Battle Box, and the reason that I made it is because one of the drawbacks to the Battle Box, it has those individual boost boxes that you put your characters in, and the boost box is not large enough to hold the T-Rex figure. There's no official support for storing the T-Rex figure in the Battle Box along with the rest of your collection. So if you have the official organizer, but you want to be able to keep your T-Rex with the rest of the collection, this is the product for you. It takes the place of 2 of those boost boxes inside the Battle Box, and it holds the T-Rex and all of her components. So I'll just show you real quickly how that works. As you can see, there's a space in the back here right along the wall, and her life dial slides right in there. Then there's a space here for her deck to go in. I don't have her deck sleeved, so I'm going to grab another deck here. I happen to have Robin Hood's deck sleeved, so I'm going to use that just to show you it can hold a sleeved deck of cards just fine. And then the T-Rex herself, she's going to go in it like so. Alright, so fits in just fine. Even if you lay it this way, she's not going to fall out. And once you put her inside the box with everything else, it might tip upside down or whatever. Everything will stay in because you'll have the lid there or the wall of the box, either way. All right, so there's that. If you have the official organizer, this might be something you want to add to that so you can keep your T-Rex with the rest of your collection. Next thing I'm going to show you is my organizer for the Jurassic Park sets. And what this does is it allows you to take both of the Jurassic Park sets. Here we have the Dr. Sattler and T-Rex box, but it will also work for Engine versus Raptors. and you're going to combine both of those sets into this box, the Dr. Sattler versus T-Rex box. Now it's important, this box is a little bit thicker this way than the Raptors versus Incheon box, so it's designed to fit in this box. It won't work very well in the other one, okay? But here we go. We have over here a big space here, and this is for the T-Rex and all of her components. So we take her deck here and we put it right in there. We're going to put her life dial in the bottom like so, and then she's going to fit into it kind of like this. You got to put her tail over there in that spot and then just sort of angle her in, and she fits just fine. So there's the T-Rex, and then we have two smaller trays over here, and these trays hold the human characters. So here you have Muldoon with the engine, and you've got the miniature, you've got his sidekick tokens over here, you have his deck of cards right there, and then under his deck is his life dial and all of his trap tokens. Right, so that all fits together just fine. We have a tray as well for Dr. Sattler and Dr. Malcolm, and we have again Dr. Sattler here. We have our sidekick token for Dr. Malcolm, but the space for the sidekick token is also large enough it can hold the miniature that they created for Dr. Malcolm as a promo. So if you have that promo miniature, you can store him in there as well. Then you've got your deck, and you've got life dials and tokens underneath. All right, and then we have another one for the Raptors. In this case, we have the Raptors 3 life dials over here on the end. We have the deck, and then underneath the deck, we have all of the Raptor figures. Now, I do have a version of this that supports sleeved cards, and I'll show you that real quick. This part of it stays basically the same. The sleeved cards will fit in here. There's enough room to fit them in there. And then for the humans, we have just a slight variation on their tray. This part's the same. This part has been adjusted to be able to hold sleeved cards. So I'll show you, here's a deck of cards for Yaninga, and they are sleeved with sort of like standard quality Ultra Pro sleeves, what sometimes are called penny sleeves. These are the sleeves that I generally prefer to use when I do sleeve my games. And so they will fit into this space just fine. There's enough room, you know, along the edges for the extra space of the cards. And when they go in there, as you can see, maybe, there's, you can see that black line here. That's indicating there's, you know, maybe about 1/8 of an inch, a couple of millimeters of space between the top of the deck and the edge of the tray. So they fit in there just fine. Everything else fits in there like normal. Now, if you don't use, you know, a more standard quality sleeves, but you use more of like a premium quality, this deck has been sleeved with premium quality Mayday Games sleeves. And I'll just show you how this fits in here, like if you're using those more high quality sleeves. So it fits in fine, you know, around the edges. There's still plenty of space. But turning it over like this, you can see that the cards are going to stick up above the edge of the tray. Now, if you apply pressure, you can compress the cards to where they no longer stick up above the edge of the tray. So if you sleeve your cards, you put them in there, you put this in there, you put another one on top of it, it's going to compress down. Then by the time you put the boards on top and you close the lid, it should hold everything pretty much in place. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal in my opinion. Unfortunately, it's the best that can be done because there's very limited space in the box, so you can't really, you know, do much better than that. But I just want to be completely transparent about that. These are ideal if you don't sleeve your cards. If you do, it's a little problematic. But again, it's going to depend on what kind of cards you use, because you saw with the Ultra Pro Standard, it was fine. There's plenty of room. You're not going to have to worry about the cards sliding out of place and ending up who knows where. No problem. But if you use the more premium sleeves, it's a little more touchy. One thing I do know as well about these sleeves, and these, I don't, like I said, I don't really sleeve my cards, so these sleeves are basically brand new. And over time, sleeves will break in, so to speak, and so they will have a tendency to remain compressed instead of wanting to expand as soon as you remove the pressure. So over time, the situation might improve. But again, just trying to be transparent. I want to sell you something that will suit your needs. If you put everything in here, you can see there's still room between the top of the organizer and the top of the box that you can put in both boards from both of the Jurassic Park sets and both rule books from both sets, and close the lid, and everything still closes flush. There's no space lost. You know, the box isn't expanded at all because of the contents. Everything closes nice and flush. All right, so that is, again, here's the T-Rex box. If you have the official organizer, that might be a good accessory for that. And then an organizer for both of the Jurassic Park sets. You can put them together in one box. Okay, up next is my organizer for the Unmatched big box sets. It works with, right here I have them in the box for Battle of Legends Volume 1. It'll work with Volume 2, Cobble and Fog, any of those other large sets with 4 characters. And what this does is it allows you to store 12 unmatched characters in a single box. So the first thing you have is you have 2 pieces up here that'll each hold 6 figures. They have sort of like a U-shaped rail here that the base of the figure slides into. So it holds your figures very securely. If you like to paint your figures, they're not going to be rolling around in the box, banging into other figures, banging into the edges and messing up your paint job. So holds everything nice and secure, and it allows you to keep 12 figures between those 2 pieces. Then down here you have individual trays that hold everything for a single character apart from their figure, which would be stored up there. So you have the deck on top, and then underneath the deck you've got life dials, sidekick tokens, any other tokens that come with the character. And again, you have 12 of these. There's 2 layers of 6. You can see I've got 6 on top, and then there's going to be 6 more characters underneath. So it lets you keep 12 characters and really consolidate your collection into a smaller space. A couple of nuances of this is you can see there's space between the top of the organizer and the edge of the box, and that allows you to store some boards on top as well as rule books. So you can store up to 3 of these large bifold boards on top, and you still have a couple of millimeters to accommodate rule books. So I like to put about 3 rule books. That way I have 12 characters and the 3 rule books that go with them. And then you can put the lid on top. Everything closes up, and there's no extra lift to the lid. Everything fits in nice and tight. Now, I was starting to say there's a few nuances to this, so we'll go over those real quick. One is, let's say you have the smaller bifold boards, right? Like that come with the 2 character sets. You can store those in here as well, but the problem that you might have is they don't really fit in this way, right? They're too wide if you try to put them in that way. If you put them in this way, there's a lot of extra space for them to move around. So what you have to handle that is you have these spacers. So you can order this without the spacers, or you can order it with the spacers. If you use the spacers, spacers are going to go in like this. And then you can put up to 2 of these smaller trifold boards in the middle, and you still have room for rule books on top, and you can close the lid and everything's a nice tight fit. Now, this works perfectly. I am a little bit, I have like some obsessive compulsive tendencies about keeping everything nice and tidy. So what I do personally, but it's not necessary, just want to make clear, it's not necessary if you don't want to bother with it, but I like to take a piece of cardstock, just your standard 8.5 by 11, cut out a notch at the top as sort of a finger hole, put that in there, and then spacers fit nicely around it, boards in the middle, and everything's just that much, a little more tidy, right? And it's easy to pull these out, take those out, and you've got a place to get your finger in to pull this out, and you've got access to everything. Okay? That's not necessary. It works fine without them. but I just like to point that out because I like to be extra tidy with things. Okay, another nuance to this is there's not a lot of extra space for the deck here. So this is not designed for sleeved cards, first of all. And also there's one character, Buffy from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer set, who will not fit in this tray because she has more cards than everybody else does. So that's okay. I have a variation of this tray designed specifically for her. It gives her a little more space for those extra cards, and she has minimal other components that come with her, so it works fine for her. So when you're ordering this organizer, if you have Buffy, just make sure you make a note of that when you're placing your order, and I'll make sure that I'll send you 11 standard trays, and I'll send you one tray that's specifically designed for her. This, of course, will work fine with also like the Marvel sets. You can fit any of those characters in here. And one nuance is with Marvel, you have Cloak and Dagger, which is a single character, but comes with 2 figures. Well, you can do that as well. So what you'll want to do for that is take one of these. You want to, you'll notice that on one side the rails are more shallow than on the others. You can see that better from the outside. You see how deep those rails go on that side, and they don't go as deep on this side. So you want to find the side where the rails are deeper. All right, and then you'll want to take out one of those characters, and we'll put in Cloak first, and then we put in Dagger on top. We orient Dagger so that she's facing down towards Cloak. You can see that the ring of her base is sticking up over the edge, okay? But when you put it in here, you can still put a board in, and the board fits just fine. Her base will stick up on that little bit of extra space between the board and the box, all right? So you can still make that work. Let's say you have the boxes for the Marvel sets, and you want to put one of these organizers in one of those boxes. Well, it will work with a caveat. So as you're aware, those boxes are thinner than these other, 4-character boxes. So I've got one right here. This is for Teen Spirit, the one that Cloak and Dagger come in. And I'm just going to pull these 2 pieces out of here to demonstrate this. So these will fit in this box, but as you can see, they come right up to the edge of the box, right? The top of the organizer comes right up to the edge of the box. So you'll have room to fit the entire organizer in here. You can put these 2 trays, you can put 12 of the regular character trays, but you won't have room to put boards or rule books on top without creating some lift to the lid when you close it. Okay, maybe that's not a big issue for you. So that's great. It'll work that way as well. Now, I do also have a version of this organizer that will accommodate sleeved cards, so I'm going to show that to you real quick. All right, here's the one for sleeved cards. Everything is a little bit taller to accommodate the sleeves, so you'll see that everything comes right up to the edge of the box here, which means there's no room for boards on top and rule books without, again, creating some lift to the lid when you close it. But an option for that is, maybe you don't mind that lift to the lid. I don't like it personally, but maybe it's not a big deal to you. Or you can store all of your figures in a couple of these boxes, sleeved, and then keep a third box to store your boards and rule books in, right? I've heard some people use that option. But otherwise, everything is basically the same as this. It's just proportions are a little bit different to accommodate sleeved cards. So let me show you a little bit how this will work with sleeved cards. I have here, again, this is a deck, full deck, sleeved with Ultra Pro standard quality, also known as penny sleeves. You put them in. There is a little bit of space here between the cards and the top of the tray, so they fit in just fine. All right, that is That works really well. And then I have another deck here. These are with the Mayday games, and they are premium quality. So this is going to be a thicker deck. And when you put those in there, they are going to come up just a little bit above the top of the tray. Now again, put just a little bit of pressure and they compress so that they are not sticking up higher. So what you're going to find is after you load everything up, you put, the top layer of trays on top of the bottom layer of trays, you close the lid on it, everything should be, the cards will be compressed, everything should be secure. Also, like I said before, sleeves have a tendency to break in over time. So over time, they'll tend to stay compressed instead of wanting to expand as soon as you take the pressure off. So you might have some issues with it in the beginning, but it should become more stable the longer you use it. Now again, it's not ideal. I'll admit that right away because I designed this not to use sleeve cards. I don't sleeve my cards. So making it work with sleeve cards was not a priority. And of course you have limitations with how much depth there is to the box. So you only have so much space to work with. So it works, and I've had a lot of customers who are happy with it, but I just, again, want to be completely transparent with you about how, how it does work. Now, another nuance to the sleeved edition is you'll notice with the standard edition, the trays that hold the characters, they have, I don't know how well you can see it here, but there's like a little rectangle in each corner. And so that little rectangle in each corner creates more stability when you stack these on top of each other. But in the case of the sleeved edition, you don't have that rectangle in each corner because they need all that space to accommodate the sleeves. And so the whole thing is a little less stable with trays on the top kind of wanting to fall into the space underneath. And once you load everything up with cards and you put a lid on top of it, it's going to be fine. But again, because I am just a little bit obsessive compulsive about keeping everything tidy, I'm going to recommend that if you use the sleeved edition, you take a piece of cardstock, cut about 3.5 inches off the top, cut a notch in the corner so you can get your finger in there, and just lay that down on top of the bottom layer. Then you can put your top layer on top of that. Everything's super stable, and there you go. When you want to get to the bottom layer, just take those out and remove that, and you have access to the bottom layer. All right, so that is the big box organizer, both the sleeved edition and the standard edition. Like I said, you can get it with the spacers if you're going to use your smaller boards in it. You can either put 2 of these boards or 3 of the larger bifold boards and still have room for the rule books and everything, and it closes up and it's nice and tight. Again, I recommend the standard edition. That's, I think, the optimal version. But if you do sleeve your cards, the sleeved edition will work with some caveats. All right, and finally we have my organizer for Unmatched Adventures, Tales to a Maze. On the top, you have room for some rule books, including the Tales to a Maze rulebook. You have space for the Tales to a Maze board and another additional large bifold board. And then underneath, you have room for 11 hero characters and all of the Tales to a Maze adversaries, the villains, the minions, all the other stuff that comes with them. So, first thing you're going to notice, these trays right here hold the hero figures, and these are the same trays that are used in my big box organizer. Exact same thing. Then you have these individual trays for the heroes. These are the same thing that are in my big box organizer. You got 11 of them instead of 12, and that's because over here in the corner, one of those spaces is taken up by some of the Tales to a Maze content. So that's what all this is over here. It's the heroes. It's all the same system as my big box organizer. So now we're going to talk mainly about all the stuff that comes with Tales to a Maze and what I have to organize that. So let's get into it. First of all, you have 2 trays here for your main villains. We have the Martians, deck sits on top, all their various tokens, their initiative cards are underneath, and it even has room for the little Martian mini figures that were a promo when you back this on Kickstarter. All right, so all that fits here. We have an identical tray for the Mothman, same thing, deck on top, everything underneath. Except for the life, the health dials for these big villains. Their health dials are very large, so I opted for another solution for storing those. So we'll get to that now. Right here you have this little tray, which holds, first of all, the tiles for the player numbers. And then on this side, it has the initiative cards for the players. And then it has the amazing event cards underneath. All right, so you've got all that. And then under, so that was here. So under that and under the villain decks, you have a space for the villain's health dials. And you have this little tray that you can take out. It's got the token that you use to track the threat. You use on the threat track. And then it has these, which are the standard pieces for tracking Doom or Martians if you don't have the promos from the Kickstarter. Okay, so this comes out. You can sit this on the table so it's easy to access these tokens as you need them. And goes right back in there. All right. Then over here you have the 6 minions, and each minion has their own tray. It's much like the hero trays and the villain trays, just much smaller. Has room for their deck on top, and then underneath that you have their health dial, initiative cards, and various other tokens. All right, so you have 6 of these, and they're just all stacked up here, 6 of them, 1 for each minion. Then over here we have a space where we can hold the villains' miniatures. So we have Mothman. He's got a rail that he slides into, much like the heroes do in their storage. And then the Martian invader fits underneath. The beam here just goes in the corner, and then he himself, the ship, just slides in there, and Mothman slides into his rail and kind of holds the other 2 pieces for the Martian in place. Alright, I gotta get that twisted right, but once everything's in there, it's all pretty secure. Alright, so there's that. Like I said, everything goes in. You can store a couple of boards on top, including the Unmatched Tales to Amaze board and 1 other board, and you've got room for all your rule books as well. Everything closes flush. There's no lift to the lid, and it's a nice way to be able to take the Unmatched Adventures content along with a nice hefty selection of heroes to use with that. Now obviously this does not work for sleeved cards. I do have another version that does accommodate sleeved cards, and I'll show you that next. Okay, here's the sleeved version of that organizer for the Unmatched Adventures. And as you can see, it's mostly empty because I don't sleeve my cards, but I've just loaded it up so I can demonstrate a little bit. You have room for 8 heroes now, because everything else takes up a lot more room. So you can't fit in 11 heroes, you're limited to 8, but that's still twice as many as would normally fit in the box, so there's some advantage there. The hero figures are going to sit over here like they do in all my other organizers. You have these trays to hold their decks and all their other components, and these are the same trays that are used in the sleeved edition of the Unmatched Big Box Organizer. So I didn't mention this earlier, but one of the advantages to this Adventures Tales to Amaze organizer is because it does use the same character trays. It's really easy to swap characters out between this organizer and if you have like one of the big boxes with my big box organizer in it. Okay, so you have that. That's basically this side of the box is heroes. You can hold 8 heroes. Then over here you have all the Tales to Amaze content. So you have The 6 minions are over here in 2 stacks of 3. And I'm just going to show you real briefly. I did sleeve these cards with, these are with the standard Ultra Pro sleeves, and you can see there's still a good amount of space there, so these cards are not going to come spilling over the top, and you have room for all the other tokens and stuff underneath. And then here's another one that's sleeved with the premium Mayday Games sleeve. Mayday Games sleeves, and you can see again there's space at the top, so they're not going to come spilling out. So pretty much any type of sleeves that you use will probably work with this organizer. It's a little bit easier to make that work with the minion decks because there's only a few cards compared to the character decks, which are many more cards. Over here in this corner, you have a tray, which I'll pull out real quick to show you. And it's mainly just to keep everything else in place, and it makes room to hold the life dials for the villains. All right, you'll want to make sure you put the Martian Invader in first, and then the Mothman slides in on top, and they both fit in there just fine. Then over here you have the trays for the actual villains. So this is an empty tray, and here is one with all of the Martians stuff loaded into it. So you have a space over here for their initiative cards. These are sleeved with premium sleeves, and they still fit in there just fine. And then you have their deck of cards. You have all their other tokens, and even the promo pieces. Well, you can't see it very well with everything in there. But if I pull these out, you can see you've got all their tokens, and you've got the Martian pieces and everything in there. All right, so that'll all work. Again, works fine with sleeve cards too. And then over here, you have this piece which holds your figures. Because it isn't so tight, there's a little bit more to it to keep everything secure. But again, you have a rail here that the Mothman will fit into, and then there's a space in the corner for the Martian's beam, and then the Martian ship itself has a place that it slides into and fits. And again, the Mothman, when he comes in, kind of holds everything more securely. Then over here in this corner, we have this tray, which is the same as in the standard edition, and it holds the threat tracker and then all of these little tokens. And then underneath that, you have space for all of the amazing event cards and the player initiative cards. I don't have these sleeved, but they'll fit in there sleeved, even with premium sleeves. And then over here, you have a little spot where you can fit the player tiles. All right. Now, one of the things is, again, with the sleeved edition, it comes up all the way to the edge of the box. So there's no room to put boards or rule books on top and still be able to close the lid without there being some lift to the lid. Now, with this, you pretty much, if you're carrying all this content with you, you're going to want, at the very least, the board that goes with the Tales to Amaze content. So I recommend you put that over here. Maybe you have room for even another bifold board if you want, and it works best if you put that on the bottom. Then you put that on top, and then you're going to have 2 spacers that you can put over here to keep everything in place, and then you can put the rule books and the lid and everything on top. All right, so you're going to end up with, you know, about that much space that the lid is being lifted off of the box to accommodate the boards and rule books. But that's just one of the drawbacks of having everything sleeved. So that's that. That covers my entire line. Let's go back up top and we'll just share a couple of closing thoughts with you. Okay, well, that was my entire line of products compatible with the Unmatched game system. Again, just to recap, we have the T-Rex box, which works with the official organizer. If you want to be able to keep your T-Rex along with the rest of your collection in that organizer, then the T-Rex box is a great accessory for that. We also have the Jurassic Park organizer, which lets you put both Jurassic Park sets together in one box to save some space there. We have that in a standard edition and one that supports sleeved cards. We also have the big box organizer, which lets you put any 12 characters, apart from the dinosaurs from the Jurassic Park sets, but any other 12 characters into one of the big box sets, like Battle of Legends Volume 1 or 2, or any of the other big box sets. That'll also work in the Marvel sets, but with the caveat that there's no room on top for boards or rulebooks unless you're okay with there being a little bit of lid lift. And again, there's a standard edition and a sleeved edition of that. And hopefully I walked you through the pros and cons of the sleeved edition so you understand it can work, but there are some limitations, and it might depend also on what type of sleeves you use. And then finally we have the latest one, the Unmatched Adventures Tales to a Maze organizer. Lets you put 11 heroes in the box with all of the villains, minions, and other content from Tales to a Maze. And then there's the sleeved edition, which lets you do the same with 8 heroes in the box with the Tales to a Maze content. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Hopefully I've answered any questions that you might have about my organizers and helped you make any decisions about which organizers would be right for you and your collection. I'm always happy to answer any questions that I didn't in the video. You can leave a comment you can leave your question in the comments of this video and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. In the description of this video, I'm going to have links to all of my products on Etsy, so you can go there and find them to buy if you want. And of course, you can also ask me questions on Etsy, and I'm happy to answer questions there as well. Again, my name is Nathan. You've been watching Nice at Dice. Thank you so much for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day.